So how can organizations start to position themselves to where they have control of their data no matter where it lives, no matter where it sits, whether it's on-prem or whether it's in the cloud? And this is where Azure Information Protection really starts to provide you some capabilities, because what Azure Information Protection does is it includes the security in the data file itself. And so once you start to apply information protection, classification, and protection in that file, no matter where that file goes, the security is in that file. And so the organization can track and monitor where that file is going, where it's being used, and then make some decisions around what happens with that data. And if the CIA had have been using things like AIP protection on the data that they were securing for top secret, once the Snowden disclosure happened, they could have easily bricked all the data, and then it wouldn't have been useful to anyone. So they could have managed and contained that compromise once that data loss happened. So let's talk a little bit about how Azure Information Protection, the control side of this works within Azure. So if you go into your Azure portal, you can go into Azure Information Protection under All Services, and you can tag it here to your console. And one of the big things that we have right out of the box, which is really helpful, is we have a high-level list of let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top-level categories that we provide by default within Azure Information Protection. And what we've seen historically is that organizations that have endeavored to go down this Azure Information Protection path have struggled initially with trying to define what their initial set of labels should be, and trying to get to a point where you try to define every possible label that you may need. And so we provide these top 5 level labels as just a generic set of labels that provide 95% coverage for most organizations and allow you to start to build your labels and confidently adopt information protection capabilities so that you can start to adopt this quickly without getting stuck in the iteration phase of trying to figure out what all your various labels should be for all your various contexts. But the great thing about Azure Information Protection and these labels are that these are very extensible. So you can come in here and you can create your own custom labels for various projects. So you have your general, and you'll notice that these policies, these top policies are listed as global, which means they apply to everybody within the organization. And then you can build your own policies. So if, for example, you're an organization that frequently does mergers and acquisitions, you can build policy labels that are time constrained during the period of time only when that merger and acquisition process may be in place. You can apply these labels to specific groups so that you can then make sure that the people who are involved with that process are the only ones who can see the materials and the only ones who can share and edit that material. So you're containing the visibility and the data itself to being protected to only those who have a need to know in the context of that project. And then with the protection, you can provide enforcement. So let's take a look here. I've gone ahead and created an entry called Project Aurora, which is just a sample information protection label that we've created for the purposes of an internal project. We could say this is a mergers and acquisition. So you'll notice that you have a bunch of options that you can come in here and set on the policy. So we can set so from a protection perspective, when you're gonna set the actual encryption on the files, you have a variety of different things you can do here. So you can use an Azure-based cloud key, or if you have an organization that wants to bring their own keys into the environment to make sure that they own the root of authority for all of the security that's going to be taking place on files, you have the ability to use hold your own key or bring your own key into Azure and use that as well. You can control some content expiration, so you can basically time this data out. So for example, if you are submitting requests for proposal or RFPs, or responding to RFPs, or putting out budgetary estimates, or providing something that's going to have a 30-day window, you can come in here and set content expiration based on these, so that after a period of time, that material is no longer viewable based on whether or not that material is expired. You can also allow offline access, and this basically allows you to prevent people from being able to do something with the file and internet connection. And so, a couple of good examples here would be if you have somebody who may have a need for that data while they're on an airplane flight, you can come in here and you can set the amount of time that you can allow this data to be viewed without an internet connection. And so you can strike a balance between the protection of the data as well as the ability of the person to use that document in disconnected states and manage that with the data loss concerns of the organization. Now, additionally, we can set some visual markings on this data for when these policies get applied. And here we can see that you can set headers and footers on the files, as well as you can set a watermark on the file, which is listed here. And you can set the color and the font and so forth on these. And then you can set configure some conditions about when this policy might automatically apply to a set of data. So in this case, I've created a policy called Aurora, and anytime the term Aurora appears in a document more than 2 times, this label will automatically be applied to any file that contains that word. So let me go ahead and exit out of this, and I'll show you on a user side what this looks like and how this gets applied. So one of the first things you'll need on the client side, at least today, until I believe the next version of Office should have this integrated, is you need to make sure you have the AIP client installed. And this is a separate download that you can push out to endpoints through a means that makes sense for your organization. But once you install the AIP client, you'll notice that you get this protect option here. And this indicates that the AIP client is installed and configured as part of Office. And in here, you can see that I've got my list of labels that are in here by default with AIP. And then I also have Project Aurora, and that is because under policies, I've got a policy listed for Project Aurora, and this user, Megan B, is part of that project. So here we have Megan B, and under this label, see if I can find the user assignment. So I won't show you guys that just for the purposes of time. But so Megan is part of this Project Aurora, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a file here. Now you'll notice that I have the option. This is a new file that I've created, so there's no material in here. And so if I just come in here and start pasting in some sample text, and then in 2 locations within this file, which is our minimum based on the policy, I stick the word Aurora in here. Now the file will automatically be protected because we've got the policy set up in the background. Now, the great thing about these policies is that we encourage users to do the right thing, and so users can come in here and set this. So Megan, in this case, because she knows this document as she's edited is related to Project Aurora, she could come in here and she could automatically set this label. But let's say she's in a hurry and she's forgotten to do this. And so I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And I'll just store it on my OneDrive because that's convenient. And I'll give it a name. And then once I save it, the Azure Information Protection client will automatically detect that this file meets the requirements of the Project Aurora label that we've set. And we can see that this file is now protected. We can see that the ribbon here indicates that this is labeled as Project Aurora. We can see the watermark has been applied to the file, and this file is also being protected as a result of that as well. So what that means is if I try to do something with this file, copy it or move it or do something else, the ability of me to do that is going to be based on what the project is set to. Here we can see the watermark, or I'm sorry, the footers are getting set on the file. So again, we want to encourage people to do the right thing, but we also have the ability to automatically apply labels as well. Now, let's say, for example, this was a false positive. You know, that she may live in Illinois and she's referring to the city of Aurora. She has the ability to come in here and remove these labels and just remove it back to general. And the tool will ask for an explanation as to why this label is being removed from this file. So this gives you a paper trail. So in the event that people are trying to remove protection from files, This gives you an ability to see why these labels are being removed, and you also have the ability to prevent this as well. So in this case, we'll just make an answer for this. And confirm it. And that should remove the label and the protection from it as well. So that's the file piece of this. Now,